Surprise! I'm live again. I keep getting little messages from Facebook telling me that I should post ahead of time when I'm about to go live, so I think I'm going to start doing that. But when inspiration hits, you just gotta go live, I reckon. So yeah, here I am with something like day 6 for the Live Every Day for December challenge. And I have an awesome topic I want to talk about with you guys today. And excuse my look, I'm fit with track pants today, crazy hair, but it's an at-home day for me, so I relish in those. But I want to talk about fear because fear is such an interesting topic, and there's so many different aspects of fear, and I just find that I'm like fascinated by understanding it and working with it and working through it and whatever you want to call it. And I know there's different, I guess, like ways that different things people use to describe as fear, but I'll get into what specifically I'm talking about in a moment. But basically, I was having a couple of conversations today about emotions and how our emotions impact us, and how, you know, sometimes we can feel really overwhelmed or sometimes we can feel really, really happy, and it kind of has a lot to do with what we actually end up doing with our day and what we end up doing with our time. And fear kept popping up in that conversation as well. So you know, when people feel fear, that it might stop them in their tracks and they stop what they're doing, and it got me thinking about my own personal journey with fear, particularly when it comes to well, actually a number of things, but I'll share a little bit to explain what I mean. But basically, hi Shivani, nice to have you on. Basically, when I first started on my personal growth journey, my business and everything, I always used to say that I want to be fearless. Because, I mean, how awesome would that be to be fearless, like not be afraid to jump on stage and speak in front of people, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys realize, but public speaking used to be one of my worst fears. I had to do like a 5-minute presentation in my 3rd year at uni, and I broke out in hives. I was sick, like I was so stressed out about it, and I didn't know how to fill 5 minutes. Whereas now I love public speaking, and it's actually, I know it's part of my life mission to speak in front of people, so it's really interesting how things happen. Anyway, I used to want to be fearless, and, you know, fearless to go up and talk to people, fearless to meet new people, fearless in following anything that I wanted to do. And so quite a lot of times when I would write out my goals, I'd have fearless in there. And then suddenly I started to have a little bit of a perspective shift as well, because it's not really about being fearless. I believe it was Elizabeth Gilbert on an interview with Marie Forleo said that the only people she's ever met that are fearless are children and psychopaths. So being fearless isn't necessarily what we're after. However, it's about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. So sort of that quote a few years ago became my new motto rather than being fearless, because I started to realize if we really learn to understand fear, we could utilize it to our advantage in such a beautiful way. So specifically, if we feel, obviously there's different kinds of fear. So it's kind of like, I need to explain it a little bit more. So there's like our fear that we have, like of jumping out of an airplane, or fear that we have of stepping out, you know, we feel scared if there's like lots of traffic and we need to cross the road and whatever, you know, there's like those kinds of fear, or going down a dark alleyway. There's those kinds of fears that actually are essential for us to feel to keep us alive. And that's actually fear's main role, is actually to keep us alive. The only difference is fear can't actually, our bodies internally can't distinguish between a real genuine fear that's going to cost our life and one that's just going to maybe cause us a little bit of embarrassment, or like to get uncomfortable or to step out of our comfort zone. And that's really where the key is, to learn the difference. So really the best way that I've had it described to me is, and it's kind of an abstract concept, And I like to normally have like a really clear way to do it. So you kind of have to like feel around with this one a little bit. When I first heard it, I didn't understand it at all, but over time I sort of started to understand it. But it's basically when fear is legitimate, like it's like saying, no, do not go into this, our body actually feels constricted. So when we think about it, we actually like almost like go like this. Everybody's going to have it slightly different, but almost that's the internal feeling, like we pull ourselves in. We feel afraid of this idea, obviously because fear, but we feel almost like a repulsion to it. Just like me, if I'm like by myself somewhere and there's like a dark alleyway, or like in haunted house movies, you know how like they always go in the door and like the empty house in haunted, like in horror movies or scary movies, I'm always like, no freaking way. Like if I was in that scenario, I would be like, run, get the heck out of there, and they just like decide to walk in. Great. Guess that's what they make the movie for though. But that fear is our fear. That's our intuitive side saying stay away. Okay, so that kind of fear is good. So I guess that's kind of what I was saying earlier as well. We're talking more about maybe our intuitive fear as well. That's the fear that says, no, this is not a good idea, this is not aligned with you. Whereas if we look at the flip side, if we feel, when we think about this idea or whatever it is that we're going to do, so this time we're not walking into a haunted house, this time we're potentially deciding to public speak, so perfect example. So the idea of it makes you go, oh my gosh, that'd be so cool, like, I'm not sure if I can do it, but, you know, I'm not sure if I have the confidence, but I really want to get this message across, and I admire people who do that, and I can see myself doing something similar in the future. Like, if those kinds of thoughts, and you're starting to expand when you think about it, that is the telltale sign that you should be doing it, right? And normally we can be like, especially if you're talking to someone about it, you might be really excited. You'll be like, yeah, oh my God, it sounds so good. Like, will you help me? La da da. But then when you go away, that's when the fear will most likely set in. So you might not notice it at the time. Like you might have like a little layers of it, but it probably won't be as massive. It's sort of later that fear kicks in, where it kind of starts to come, and you're just like, oh crap, like, what have I signed up for? Or what, you know, what if I can't do it? And all of those doubt thoughts come into mind. Bring yourself back to the moment of how you felt when you actually thought about this idea. So if you felt expansive about the idea, your intuition's telling you to do it, and that fear is actually the indicator that this is something that's going to move you past your comfort zone. And as we all know, outside of our comfort zone is where the magic happens. So that's where we should actually be aiming to move towards. So that's when we need to be like, hey, this is when fear is your friend. Another scenario, right? Our fear is our friend when it's stopping us from going into the haunted house, and fear is our friend when it's showing us that this is an opportunity for growth. Hi, Chantal. Hi, Afi. I see you joined. So yeah, it's about kind of redirecting how you think of fear. And I heard it so beautifully once. They said, can't quite remember who it was, but they said, if you use fear as you should be using fear as an indicator about where you should be going. And this is obviously not in the life-threatening scenarios. This is in the other scenarios. You should use fear as an indicator to where you should be going. So if you're feeling that fear about public speaking, but you still have that expansiveness about it, you should be public speaking. Like, find a way to go public speaking right now. Hi, Jem. If you are, for example, like pursuing something that you love, do you feel expansive about it? Most likely, because it's obviously about something that you love, but you're going to have fear. That's normal. That is actually your body's indicator to, this is going to make you step out of your comfort zone. Get ready. Let's go. Let's go there. Pack a bag. Fear's in the back seat. You've got road trip snacks. And you just go on with it. And the beautiful thing about this is, like, we honestly tell ourselves the most crazy stories in our head. We can get so involved in what it is that, all the possibilities of what could happen, and oh my gosh, this and blah blah. Like, we've all been there. I go there all the time. Like, I have to consciously pull myself in, rein it in, and as soon as I notice myself thinking those thoughts, and over time it's become a lot easier to do that because I'm more aware of my thoughts now. So as soon as I notice myself doing that, I rein it in, tell myself a different story, and I'm sure I was making a point with this. Where was I? And this is also part of my fear why I don't like coming on live, because I lose my train of thought from time to time. Anyway, so I was saying, what was I saying? Oh yeah, when we notice our thoughts like going haywire, and we notice ourselves thinking all these thoughts, it's about telling ourselves a different story about it, and actually allowing ourselves just to feel that in the moment. Because a lot of times we'll feel the fear coming up, and we'll think, oh my gosh, suppress that and let's like move on. But it's actually, if you just let that emotion come up and you're like, oh my gosh, what if I fail? And like, what if people laugh at me while I'm on stage public speaking? And then just be like, okay, let that emotion come up, because the only way for it actually to be released is through letting yourself feel it moving through you, and then you release it. Okay? And so that's, hi Amanda. That's actually how you move through emotions. That's how you move through fears, because if you let yourself feel them, they'll actually only last for around 7 seconds, believe it or not. If you whereas if you resist them, oh, I think my phone's about to die. If you resist them, they will persist. What we resist persists, right? Remember that. And so I don't want to talk anymore about this, because I know I've already been live for ages, but I have a really good video that I recommend. It's a Marie Forleo video. For those of you that don't follow Marie Forleo, highly recommend her. She's amazing. But she actually does an interview with her husband, who is a master at coaching on emotions and feelings and fears and those sorts of things. And he goes into it so beautifully, how to actually let yourself feel those emotions so you can move past them. Okay? So, and combined as well with the video that I saw a little while ago, it's kind of like my biggest tips in this area would be, firstly, do that internal self-check-in. You know, are you contracting about the idea, or are you expanding about the idea? That's your indicator, and you should be following your intuition to, if you're expanding, do it. Like, seriously. Find someone to help you, keep you accountable if you need it, but do it. Because you feel that way for a reason. And then secondly, we want to let ourselves feel those things that are coming up, because we want to be able to release them. And then we want to start moving towards the beautiful life that we can have when we follow our intuition. So that's all from me anyway, guys. I'll link the video that I was just talking about in the comments, so you guys can check it out if you are interested in this topic. And I'd love to hear how you guys go with this as well, so keep it interactive, guys. I'll be popping into the comments to chat with you soon. See you later. Thanks for joining me.